Hello everybody, welcome to the Voice of Azerbaijan. Remember our telephone number to contact with us 2236-4080. Today's article was written by Akram Rahimli, has been selected from net with some changes. 21st Azer, a momentous popular moment in South Azerbaijan. The 21st Azer movement, the 12th December 1945 revolution, is seen as the culmination of the national democratic movement in South Azerbaijan in Iran. The Mashruta revolution of the early 20th century 1905 till 1911 and the subsequent Khiyabani movement 1917 till 1920 were in essence just a stage in the revival and revolutionary and processes leading to the 21st Azer. In other words, the 21st Azer was their logical continuation. It was no coincidence that most of the issue on the agenda of Azerbaijan's national government in 1945 till 1946 overlapped those in the programs and goals of previous movements. Comes the hour, comes the man. The entry of the Allied troops to Iran in August 1941 led to the collapse of Shah Reza's regime and enabled the Turks of the South Azerbaijan to stand up and defend their ethnic and national rights. Even though the Azerbaijan Society, the Freedom Front, the Democracy Hearth, and the Province Committee of the Iranian People's Party, Tudeh, and a number of other parties, societies, and organizations emerged in South Azerbaijan, none of them lived up to people's wishes and expectations. A political organization was needed that would serve Azerbaijan's national interests with a level of freedom and the motherland that was capable of leading the people to a common goal, proceeding from national democratic values and supported by the patriotic forces in society. Several intellectuals from Tabriz sent written and oral requests to the editor of Tehran's Azer newspaper, the revolutionary Sayyid Jafar Peshawari, 1892-1947, asking him to go to Tabriz and establish such a political party. Peshawari subsequently wrote in his memories, "I could not refuse the call of the people, therefore I had to come to Azerbaijan." Peshawari's arrival in Tabriz and the work he did there yield fruit. After certain deliberations, 77 Azerbaijanis, most participants in Sattarkhan or Khiyabani's movements, and their children adopted the 12 Shahrivar 3 September declaration and made it public. The declaration actually represented an appeal to the people. It analyzed the unbearable socio-political, economic, and cultural situation in South Azerbaijan, identified collective struggle as the only way forward, and stated the need for a political organization capable of doing that. The issue raised in the declaration, 12 points, effectively formed the popular movement's agenda. The newspaper Azerbaijan, which began publication 2 days after the adoption of the declaration, played an exceptional role in communicating this agenda to the people, reviving national morale and convincing people of the need for an independent national political organization to lead the way. The local committee of Iranian People's Party, which was operating in Azerbaijan at that time, announced that together with its 40,000 members was joining the newly established Azerbaijan Democratic Party. First, an independent party. The first plenary session of the Azerbaijan Democratic Party was held on 13 September 1945 and set up an 11-member committee of founders. The renowned Democrat and journalist Peshawari, who had been sentenced to 10 years in prison by Shah Reza's and Persian regime, was elected chairman of the committee. The committee convened the first party congress on 2nd October 1945 and announced the nomination of the local representatives to the congress. The first congress was attended by 277 delegates. A total of 6 sessions were held over the course of 2 days. The Congress approved the establishment of the Azerbaijan Democratic Party, adopted the program and charter, and endorsed the makeup of the party's governing body, Central Committee. Peshawari was elected chairman of the Central Committee. The committee carried out a number of important activities relating to the international and domestic situation, and in order to discuss the overall situation and find solution to existing problems, it decided to hold the second plenary session of the party on 18th November. This plenary session played a special role in the history of the party and the 21st Azer movement. It revealed facts showing the cruel nature of the regime, violence by and police, and state that the people were left with no option but to resist such arbitrariness. Instead of taking firm steps to rectify the situation in South Azerbaijan, Tehran turned a blind eye to the numerous appeals and complaints from the region. Official documents of the party indicate that the numerous complaints sent to the Shah, Prime Minister, and the Parliament about the dire economic situation, unemployment, high prices, violence, and arbitrary behavior of the government officials, unfounded arrests and persecution, remains unanswered. Prime Minister Murtaza Bayar said once, "I have addressed the nation over the radio, so the people need not send written complaints." The next Prime Minister, Ibrahim Hakimi, went even further, saying, "Even if we receive 1,000 messages by telegraph, I won't dignify these empty words with an answer." Peshawari published his article, "Let Them Leave Us Alone," written in the run-up to the 21st Azer in the Azerbaijan newspaper. He wrote, "Azerbaijan doesn't want anything from Tehran. Let them just leave us alone. Let them allow Azerbaijan to run itself by itself. Tehran doesn't allow us any breathing space. It always wants to be in charge when we try to do something ourselves. Every day it sends us its thieves disguised as governors or commanders and carrying huge suitcase. They are not ashamed of shaving our heads with a new sharp razor over and over again." It was under these unbearable circumstances that 21st Azer movement emerged in South Azerbaijan, then an independent government. On the eve of the 21st Azer, on 20th November 1945, the National People's Congress was convened in Tabriz. Delegates from every region of South Azerbaijan, a total of 725 people, were invited to attend. The Congress provided a comprehensive analysis of the political and economic situation in South Azerbaijan. After listening to remarks and suggestions from the delegates, the Congress adopted a resolution containing 14 clauses. The decision was made to give the South Azerbaijan Assembly the state of the National Assembly. The Congress also adopted an address to Iran's Shah, Parliament, Prime Minister, and as well as to other countries. The address described the tough social, political, economic, and cultural situation in South Azerbaijan, saying that a people with a rich cultural and historical background were on the verge of extinction and were being denied their language and national identity. The address said further, people's patience is about to run out. They are no longer able to withstand Tehran's tyranny and humiliation and will be obliged to meet force with force. The Congress also elected a 39-member National Council, appointing Peshawari's chairman and Haji Mirza Ali deputy chairman. The council was tasked with convening the national parliaments and attending to important current affairs. Between 27th November and 1st December 1945, a total of 100 delegates from 32 constituencies were elected to the national parliament. As a result, Azerbaijan's national parliament was opened in Tabriz on 21st December 1945. The parliament began its work on the basis of the internal charter prepared by the National Council and approved at its first session. The charter stated that Azerbaijani autonomy was being established within the framework of the territorial integrity of Iran, while the local assembly was being replaced by the Azerbaijan national government. The national government did not have ministries of foreign affairs, defense, or foreign trade, which meant that it would function as an autonomous entity within Iran. In fact, there are many examples of such autonomies around the world. The national parliament elected a 9-member presidium to pass and execute laws of decisions, with Haji Mirza Ali Shabistari in the chair. It also passed the historic decision to establish the national government and unanimously elected Peshawari as its chairman. By then, many regions of South Azerbaijan, in addition to Tabriz and Urmia, had broken away from Tehran's tyranny. Tabriz was freed of enemy forces on 13th and Urmia on 19th December. The national parliament, led by Peshawari, approved 11 members of the Azerbaijan national government. This government existed for just 1 year, but the work carried out in the socio-economic, scientific, educational, and cultural fields over such a short period of time, according to American sociologist John Thoran, outweighed what Shah Reza had done in 20 years. Out of tyranny, democracy. The reforms conducted by the national government in the areas of democracy, economy, culture, and so on were so extensive that it would be impossible to describe them in a few sentences. The adoption of a law on democratic elections, the provision of freedom to political parties and associations, the regulation of ethnic relations, the emancipation of women, and etc. are among the most significant measures taken by the national government in the share of democratic law. The revitalization and development of national industry, the elimination of unemployment, the protection of domestic investment, and numerous other improvements earned the short-lived governed reputation for being pro-development. As an agricultural region, South Azerbaijan always faced problems with land and fair regulation of village landowner relations. This issue remains on the agenda to this day. The Azerbaijan national government resolved this problem in a democratic and fair manner. The lands of those who had fled the country, as well as the Shah's estates, were distributed freely among villagers who had little or no land. Those who had too much land and irrigation water at their disposal were made to share it with those in need. Tax disputes between landowners and villagers were resolved in favor of the latter, as thousands of destitute villagers acquired land, gardens, and pastures. Even more work was done on education and culture. The decision of the National Parliament to make the Azerbaijani Turkish language the official state language, the establishment of a national philharmonic society, a radio station, national theaters and museums, a national orchestra, associations of writers, artists, and art critics, the first school of the higher education, a state university, the construction of new schools and philharmonic, the establishment of a national library, and etc. effectively produced a cultural renaissance in Azerbaijan. The reasons behind the emergence of the 21st Azer movement should be sought in the tyranny of the Pahlavis dynasty against Azerbaijani Turks, the policy of discrimination, and the unbearable socio-economic and political situation in South Azerbaijan. Prominent Iranian statesman Mohammad Mossadegh said in a speech at the Iranian Council Assembly on 14th December 1945, the situation in South Azerbaijan was the result of the government's failing to listen to the people's objections and resorting to force instead of responding to people's concerns. A similar opinion was also voiced by Iran's Prime Minister Ahmed Gavam. From the people, the 21st Azer was a popular national movement that emerged solely on a wave of people's wishes and power. It would be at least a distortion of history to look outside Iran or to describe it as a movement brought to life by external forces, the Soviets. It would be an insult to the memories of the 25,000 freedom fighters who fell victim for the causes of 21st Azer. It is also wrong to provide an objective assessment to the movement without taking into consideration its relationship with the other side of the Aras River, the Soviet Union, as well as certain other domestic and external factors. It is important to deny the moral and, in part, military assistance by the Soviets to the South Azerbaijan movement in 1945-1946. However, it would also be naive to deny that the main driving force behind the 21st Azer, a movement that presented all the national liberation forces of South Azerbaijan, was the people. Only those unfamiliar with the situation or indeed hostile towards the movement attributed its success to the Soviets. It is particularly important to note that all Soviet assistance to the movement and its leaders were provided at the expense of the North Azerbaijan. The North was no less interested in achieving freedom and happiness for the South than the South itself. However, the behind-the-scenes treachery masterminded by Stalin Mikoyan alliance and support from the US and British for Tehran's suppression of the popular movement in South Azerbaijan led to its defeat. Since the 21st Azer had deep roots, it is still remembered in South Azerbaijan. The more time separates us from it, the more information is revealed, especially by the young generations. As Peshawari wrote in one of his articles, Tehran cannot always trample on our people's human rights. Sooner or later, Azerbaijanis will break free and develop independently. Thank you for being with us this evening. Again, remember our telephone numbers 2236 4080. We continue with Azerbaijani music.